Hi guys, Raven Song here. I look like shit. Sorry, I did not plan this video very well and I'm too tired. I'm in the middle of chemo, so I've got my port on and hooked up to a pump. But, so I really don't have the energy to, do a whole lot. But, I have to say, I was getting rid of all my decks, or was trying to get rid of all my decks. Well, as time goes by, I ended up shopping back quite a bit. It's funny how I just couldn't quite let go. Couldn't quite let go of some of them. I figured, if I'm going to get stuck, I might as well get stuck with what I want. So anyways, as I was shopping back at the last minute, I decided to pull out some oldies but moldies. Oldies but moldies that I want to keep in my collection that are just phenomenal decks. So we got the Nigel Jackson. Let's start with that. Nigel Jackson Tarot. This one is in like mint condition. I'm thinking, I don't know if I bought this or if I traded for it. It may have been in a trade, but it's a beautiful classic deck from the, 80s? I don't know. What's it say on it? Does it have a date? I'm not seeing a date. Anyways, but it's a beautiful deck. Look at that moon. Sorry, my lighting is not great. I'm over here in the closet, not the closet. I'm between closets, but I'm in the hallway between bedrooms and just trying to load up a shelf that I brought upstairs to hold some of these classics. Just a small collection upstairs. Let me see if I can find. Let's get back to the full. There we go. Anyway, so that's the Nigel Jackson. That's one I shopped back. And I'm quite glad I did. Got quite a few decks. I hope this doesn't take too long. I think I worked up a sweat carrying these upstairs. It's hot. It's hot today. It was cooling off, but now it's hot again. I'm going to do the boxed ones first, and then we'll go through the bags. Oh, this is the Yolanda. Oldie but moldy. This is a first edition, but I did trim it. Oops, lost my carnelian. I did trim it because I didn't like the borders. So it got chopped down quite a bit. But I do like the back. So I think the black backs are very, very adorable. But yeah, this is the Yolanda Tarot. She's an old classic. I shopped her back mostly because I didn't think people wanted altar decks too much. They seemed to be the ones that people were leaving behind for anything that was trimmed or altered in any way, which I thought was interesting. I guess they looked at them as used decks, which they are. But they're still in great condition because when you got a lot of decks, you don't really use them as much as you'd think. You don't wear them out. Certain ones, maybe, but not all of them. Most of them stay in pretty pristine conditions. I love it's so whimsical. I love the Yolanda. I believe it's Thoth based, but I'm not positive. But it's got some whimsical pictures that I really, the artwork is quite other boxed one is this J.J. Swiss, old classic from the 70s. Somebody gave me this. They found it in their mother-in-law's stuff when they were cleaning out her house. And so they gave it to me. So it's a classic. Classic. Very old edition. This one's probably from the time it was published. You can tell by the cards are kind of warped and slightly yellowed on the edges. So it's, but it's a classic Marseille. I know there's a whole thing about Jupiter and Mars or something like that in this edition. It says U.S. Game Systems. The pamphlet, little pamphlet like this. It's, like I said, it's very, very old. One J.J. Swiss. Does it have a date on it at all? I thought it had a date at one point. I don't see it now. But I think it's from the 70s. Anyways. Yeah, A.J. Mueller. C.E. Manson and Rainfall, Switzerland. So these ones come from Switzerland. U.S. Game Distributor, U.S. Games in New York, distributed by, made in Switzerland. Yeah, made in Switzerland. Gosh, I am sweating like a pig here. Barbara Walker. This one I know I got in a trade. I wasn't sure. The box looks classic, like it's the first edition. Again, this is a Mueller deck through U.S. Games, distributed by U.S. Games. But the cards are in such pristine conditions that I kind of wondered if somebody had switched out the cards with a new printed deck. So yeah, kind of questionable on its authenticity of age. You know, this one has got lots of words around it. It's probably why I haven't really played with it much. All the different languages at the bottom, and the pictures are just, the images are just so small. So small because of that. You know, old classic U.S. Games, they like to put words all around everything. I mean, I know they want to be inclusive, but I think they should print according to region. And I think they're starting to do that now. And not so much just dump it all in one, which is great. We've become so global that I don't see where it's, you know, could be that much of a problem to do that. It's a little back. All right. The next old classic is the Morgan Greer, and this is an oldie but moldy. This may have come with that other one, with the Barbara Moore one. And I've not played with it. I admire this deck so much, and this is definitely an old beat-up copy. Or at least the box is. My fingers are so icky. But I love the images. I see them online all the time being used, and they're just stunning. I love the more close-up of it, of the classic Waite Smith imagery. And I love that turquoise blue color, that teal that comes through. It's just beautiful. Just gorgeous. I need to take this one out and play with it. I really, really do. I have not touched it since I got it. I tend to play with my newer decks. But this is a stunning, stunning deck. And like I said, it photographs so beautifully online. You know, you can't help but fall in love with it. Sorry, no, I'm not. Gosh, I'm really sweating like a pig over here. Just beautiful, 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 beautiful deck. Love it. Love it, love it. One of these days I'll play with it. That's one reason why I brought everything upstairs here or these ones upstairs, is because they are old classics, and a lot of them I haven't played with much, and I wanted them accessible. Keep all my collector stuff downstairs. Where they're a little bit more safe, I think. Yeah. This is the Fountain Tarot. This is my original signed copy, first edition, from the release launch party that we had here in Denver at the same time as TarotCon. That was so fun. Oh my God, that was so fun. But this is, yeah, my original copy. Ooh, it's a little bit. Wonky. This one, oh my God. There's a video, I've interviewed Jonathan Sayce, the artist, here in Denver when it came out. And it was my first attempt at trying to do an interview. It came out pretty bad. But it's still up if you want to look for it. Asked him mostly questions about being an artist, and particularly in the tarot marketplace, you know, that type of thing. And I do have his original Two of Swords painting. I purchased that from him. Oh my God, this is a beautiful, beautiful deck. This one I need to play with more. I played with it a lot when I first got it. And then just kind of got tucked away. Haven't played with it much since. Open cards. The Sun card. That's probably my least favorite, is the Sun card of this deck. I love the High Priestess. I think it was Alex. She signed. I had them sign their favorite cards too, as well as the inside. So this was Alex's. I think it's Alex, the gal that did the packaging and marketing of it. But her favorite was the Tower, and this was Jonathan's favorite, was the Chariot. And Jason, I'm not sure which Jason's was, but he signed his favorite too, which was really, really cool. Let me see if I can find it. Seems like it was a dark one, if I remember right. Yeah, no, it's not dark, but his was the Hanged Man. Jason signed his Hanged Man. So those, all three are together there, I guess. Anyways, so yeah, so this is my original didn't keep any duplicates for the most part. There are a few duplicates in the Waite Smith just because I think I've got Radiant Spirit, I think I've got Dirty Pam, and I think I've got, I know I have my Carol Hertzler version. Oops. Okay, hopefully that's just gets cut off there. Just have to put it back together again. I think that's all I have left of that. And I think I have 2 copies of hey, what are you chewing on? Okay, that's all right. Doggies. No. Anyways, what was I saying? Thoth. I think I did save 2 copies of Thoth, a big one and a little one. And what? My big one might be a greenie. I'm not positive. I'd have to pull that one out and take a look at it, but it might be a greenie. I'm afraid it's a greenie that I cut, though, that I trimmed, because I wanted bigger pictures, but not the borders. So I may have made a mistake on that. Anyways, this one is actually an Oracle deck. This is Wisdom of the Oracle. I love this one. This one has always given me some very deep, insightful information. And so I just love it. I love how it's got a lot of them have these little, let me see if I can find it, like bright spots in it. And maybe I'm thinking of a different deck. Maybe I'm thinking of a different deck. Bright spots in the middle of the image that kind of highlights an internal message there. I might be thinking of a different, well, there's a few of them. This one has, like this one has an image in the face. There's an image right up here. I can't get into the shadow there, otherwise you won't be able to see it at all. There you go. Kind of see it there. Anyways, but I thought this one had quite a few of those, but I'm not picking them out as like I thought. But I've always thought that was really, really neat, how she incorporated those shadow images in there. But this is just a stunning, stunning deck. I just love it. And it, like I said, it reads really, really nice. It keeps me on level ground, you know? Here's another one that has a face image in the moon, up by the moon. Let's see if we can get in. Zero in on it. There it is. Yeah. But I love this deck. This is a beautiful deck. So I wanted this one close so I could grab it on a whim. Grab it on a whim and pull a card when I need to. So that's the Wisdom of the Oracle. Colette Baron Reed. I like Colette Baron Reed. I did kind of get to a point where I thought she was becoming very commercial, and I kind of backed off on her a lot. This is one, again, I think I picked it up in a trade, or I bought it off of eBay. I think I may have bought it off of eBay, because it was quite unique looking and unusual, and it's an older deck too. It's the Napo Tarot. Napo Tarot by Lopez, designed by Napo, U.S. Games, out of print. A lot of these are out of print, I believe. Well, Yolanda is. Nigel Jackson might be back in print. This one's definitely out of print. But it's a whimsical looking deck. It's such bright but yet pastel-y colors. It kind of takes on a Mayan feel to it. Let me back that off. In the imagery, but yet it's also very country, very clown-like. I think it's in Spanish. I think it's based on Marseille because it's talking about bastos and Trigura. Maybe that's truce. Escape. I think it's Spanish, but I'm not positive. It's giving us both English and Spanish, I think. But yeah, it definitely picks up a native feel to it, or indigenous feel to it also, but kind of clown-like, which is I find interesting. Waite Smith imagery, so it's definitely not Marseille. Leaning towards Waite Smith. It's pretty cool. It's an interesting deck. Haven't played with it much, but it's an interesting deck. This is my sale.This that I had printed on my playing cards. I can't remember who it was through, but it was on my playing cards, and I did a gold paint edging, so it bled out a little bit, but it kind of gives it that nice little antique-y feel to it, which I like. It fit the deck, even though it bled. It fits it very nice. I did put numbers on them so that I could depict them easier. Classic 3 of hearts, or 3 of swords. Oops. But yeah, this was one that I had printed, so I like it. Just a classic to add to my collection. Beautiful, rich imagery, even for the pips. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Like I said, deep, rich imagery. So it's not. I don't know how it can be considered Marseille. It's kind of a bridge between Marseille and the Waite Smith. They do say Pamela took a lot of imagery from the sale.This for the Waite Smith. So that's very, very possible in that respect. Okay, last one in this bag. Again, an old classic that I just pulled back that I still use now and then, and it's I love it. It's a the Dreaming Waste Tarot. I love the backs on it. I just love the backs. I think that the green is just gorgeous, and the browns, that earthy feel. But there's also this, I don't know, kind of a French feel to it, to the imagery. French provincial. Bit more modern deck, but not too modern. Oh, it's just gorgeous. I think it's kind of watercolor and pencil is the imagery on it, is the mediums on this. I love this deck. This deck is just one of my favorites. It reads very, very well. It is great with clients. gets the messages across very clearly. Very clearly without being harsh. Some decks can be kind of harsh. But yeah, this is just one that I had to shop back because it's like, no. Plus it has been altered. I did edge it. No, I didn't trim it. I think it's just edged. I did a brown woody type edging on it to enhance that green. Let's put that there. It's trying to encroach on my thing. All right, the next bag. Whew, I'm getting tired here. The next bag, I may not go through these as much. For one thing, I'm running out of space. That I shopped back that at the last, these were last minute shop backs. So what is this? Oh, this is another. This one I rank with the that last one is the Anna K. It's one that I didn't like initially. I didn't like the faces on the characters. They rubbed me the wrong way initially, and then it began to grow on me so significantly. They're so emotional. They bring a lot in that conversation between faces. There's a lot of information that comes through. I love this deck. Love it now. And this one I do have a indie copy of it that I kept also. This is probably one of the ones that bugged me the most, the face on it. It's just, yeah. But I've learned to love it. I've learned to love the faces because they bring so much vibrancy and emotion to the deck, to the readings. Again, it talks very clear. Maybe a little bit more blunt than the Dreaming Ways. But still very gentle. Still very gentle. Like I said, maybe a little bit more blunt, but beautiful, beautiful deck. Love it, love it, love it. Classic. Old classic. That's gonna fit. Do some rearranging here. It's not going to fit. I'm running out of room on my shelf. Uh-oh. Yeah, I'm running out of room. So let's just go through these really quick. Favolet. I love the majors in the Favolet deck. I don't like the pips. Unfortunately, the pips are very, very cheap. It's, you know, you can read it, but I don't like them. This one is the oh my god, I can't remember this one all of a sudden. Raven Boys. This one I love because it's I'm not going to be able to get this in. This is not going to work. No, this isn't going to work. I'm going to have to stop here and we'll try this later. All right, let's try this again. And this time I'm going to just start over because this has just been ridiculous. The interruptions I got as soon as I decided to sit down. Anyways, I'm back. I'm back from the hallway that was so hot the other day and ran out of room to work. So I got better lighting. I'm sitting here in my dining room. So I think we ended with the been around for a while, the Raven's Prophecy Tarot, which I absolutely love. I love this deck because it's not traditional Waite-Smith imagery. I love the hands. The hands to me represent what is in your control, what is in your ability to achieve within your making. And I love how they are represented in this deck. They're simple imagery, not necessarily for clients, though they aren't offensive to clients either, though they aren't scary or spooky or intimidating. They're just a little confusing because they fit Waite-Smith meanings, but they don't fit the imagery at all. They don't even really come close. If you're familiar with Waite-Smith, you get it. Otherwise you don't. But again, the hand thing is just one of my favorite parts about this deck. It is a stunning deck. A lot of people hate the orange. I decided to embrace the orange and did a little bit of orange red around the edges to enhance this deck. But it's been around a while, and it's one that I go back to periodically. The next one is another one that's been around for a long time. And it never would have been a deck that I would have gravitated towards in any way, shape, or form, because it is a very dark deck, and it's one that it just would have never appealed to me until I saw Owl Moon and how she did path working and shadow working, and it really intrigued me and drew me into really exploring those parts of me that I question, that I wonder why I do certain things, and why certain patterns seem to come back all the time. And it is a very shadowy, dark deck that kind of can be creepy with customers, so I wouldn't use it with a querent at all, with somebody looking at them, because, well, they're a little bit uncomfortable too, because they do have some nudity in them, quite a bit of nudity, and there is kind of a violent factor in some of them too that can come through. Though when you dig deeper past that violence, there's usually a deeper meaning, a different way of looking at it, and maybe not violence, maybe more worries and nightmares. The way we look at the past versus what really happened, the spooky side of it. But it's beautiful, beautiful imagery, beautiful paintings. The artist is just phenomenal. Is it Royo? Is Royo the artist? No, Fabio Lestrani. He does beautiful work. I think he's done several decks for U.S. games. But anyways, it's a nice deck. I think it's been refurbished. I think I trimmed this. I took the name labels off, and then I finished it in a gold. But I think they're printing it borderless now. I'm not positive, but I'm pretty sure it's getting printed borderless. The next deck is an oldie that's been around, and it's the Universal Fantasies. And this one I picked up because at the time I was really into fantasy art, the cosmos, and science fiction, and this kind of crosses the line between science fiction, fantasy, and maybe a hint of steampunk in it. But it's a beautifully, beautifully illustrated deck. A bit busy. Oh, this is one of my favorite Two of Swords. A bit busy, maybe some unnecessary artwork in there, but you get the point. It's Waite-Smith based. It would be interesting to know if there was a story behind this, if this came from a fantasy book of some sort. It would be interesting to check that out. In fact, let me double check and see here if it says anything at all. While they contain elements of Middle Ages, they are actually outside time dimension. attributed to the English writer William Morris. I'm going to have to look that up. English writer William Morris, 1834 to 1896, whose works offered his views of idealized medieval world in a readers caught up in a busy gray England. Another author who contributed to the characterization genre of the Irish writer Edward John Morton, Drax Pluckett, better known as Lord Dunsany, 1876 to 1957. I'm going to have to look those up. There's another one, Arthur Machen, 1863 to 1947. Oh. Let's see, other writers who take up theme and mood. American Howard Phillips Lovecraft, 1890 to 1937. So there's quite a few writers that influenced this deck. And it's probably diving back into the science fiction fantasy genre again that I've kind of moved out of. I tend to read more historical fiction with a little bit of fantasy or sci-fi thrown in, but mostly historical fiction lately. It's been more my thing. I bounce back and forth. I don't think Audible really knows what to think of me. I've collected about every badge that's on there. If you haven't noticed that you can collect badges for different genres. I think there's one that I just have not collected, and it might have to do with, God, what was it? Not completion, because I do complete most of the books I read. Not a good reviewer. I know I'm not a good reviewer, so anyways. So the next deck, this one I rescued from the table at the last minute, and I really wish I would have rescued her other deck. And this is the Paulina Tarot, but I like the Joie de Vie the best. But I think it got zapped up quick and fast in the initial sale of the decks off my table. So anyways, but it's still beautiful. It still fits. The Paulina is probably my second favorite of hers. I definitely don't lean towards the animal decks. That was one of the questions that I got a lot of when people came to shop. They were like, I don't see any cat decks. Yeah, you aren't going to see any cat decks on my table. I'm sorry. I'm not a cat. I love my cats. I don't like animals taking on human characteristics and clothing styles and doing human actions. It bugs the heck out of me. So, yeah, I don't go there. So yeah, you will not see a cat deck. Surprisingly enough, the Crow Tarot is one that I have picked up that I like. I was hesitant on that, but I was able to move past it because they seem to be more standing characters in the backgrounds on her imagery and not so much interacting with the objects. If they're interacting like an animal would interact, which is great. But yeah, this is the Paulina, and I love this one too. It's very beautiful. But Joie de Vivre was definitely the one that I gravitated to the most. I wonder, was it Joie de Vivre or was it this one that has the Queen of Swords is just phenomenal. Had a profound reading with a client on that one where it was like off with his head. It was like she needed to take control and take action and remove the obstacles in her way to make what she wanted, her ideas, her creations, to come to fruition. And it took her, God, that was such a long time ago. It probably took her 5 or 6 years before she finally finally did it. And I think it finally became official just this last year, where she took action and she finally finalized and did the deed and made it hers. She's also the type of person that likes those bad habits, so I think she's still struggling. Anyways, this is one that I picked up not that long ago, maybe a few years ago. It's one that I bypassed because it reminded me so much of the kind of artwork that I used to do when I was younger, and it was much more primitive and much more I don't want to say juvenile, not as a negative, but definitely that early years of artwork when you drew from your mind, you didn't use models, and so things end up a little bit more cartoony and soft and less detailed, no shadows to determine light sources and things like that. They were just straight on imagery. So like I said, it reminded me of my early artwork, so I tended to avoid it. But I've learned to appreciate that primitive, going back in time, going back to the old style of art. Kind of like the difference between Anna Turian's new stuff and her original Tarot of Echoes, or Oracle of Echoes, where it was much more loose and free and less detail-y, and now it's very, very detailed, very, very intense. So this gives it a softer imagery. I would consider this a fairy deck. Fae, medieval fantasy based artwork. Yeah. It's quite lovely, easy to read, very gentle, very feminine deck, very, very feminine deck. But I like this one. What was that? Did I tell you the name? Crystal Visions. Crystal Visions, sorry. I meant to tell you that earlier. On this one here, oh, this is my original, my very, very first deck. I'm putting this on that shelf because it is an oldie but moldy, and it's, I tried trimming it and I did a shitty job. It had well, they're old, number one, so it frayed a bit. And it, yeah, it frayed a bit, and I think that the blades may not have been very sharp. But this is the Aquarian deck. This is my original, my very, very, very first deck. Very, very, very first deck. I had a hard time picking my very first deck. I didn't like Hanson and Roberts, which is the one that the gal was using when she taught me while I was in England in '88. That kind of got me introduced to it and started going down this path. When I came back, there were just, I didn't like Wade Smith. There were a lot of things I didn't like out there, and this was the only one that really, really appealed to me. Probably because it's Art Nouveau. I love Art Nouveau, and that Tiffany stained glassy feel to some of the imagery. The other thing is, I love, where is it? The Suit of Wands in particular. The Suit of Wands is irises. I am an iris fiend. Absolutely love the irises. And I think that's what drew me in the most. The other problem I had when I picked this deck out was that I hated the backs. Absolutely despise the backs. I hate them worse now when the new ones have borders. But it was the most tolerable that I could get. You know, it's like, well, I'll reside the backs to the imagery on the front because I love the irises. I love how you have all this bright color, but the faces are like penciled in, and they're kind of shadowed, so not to put too much inflection on them, I guess, is how I look at it. the face is not important. It's Waite-Smith. So, anyways, pause for a minute. Okay, not sure what's going on here. I'm getting a weird countdown thing going, and it keeps wanting to shut off on me. Not sure why. So that was the Oswald Wirth. Hopefully I got all that on there. Another oldie. Well, this one's been around a while. This is, of course, the Thoth deck. And this is the only copy I kept. And it is, I think I trimmed this from a standard size. I trimmed the borders off because I found the borders distracting at the time. And, or again, I did the gold ink pen, which is kind of a pain to work with, but it gave it a nice little gold patina, which I really like. And it's a nice small travel size deck. It's one I can keep out. I'm not a big Thoth reader, but again, all the information, whether it's the Thoth, Marseille, you know, that dabbling in the esoteric stuff and not so deep as I think Thoth tries to go, and the Waite-Smith, it can all be combined together and works together just beautifully. I don't think we have to stick to just one structure or another. I think they flow together well. Certain cards in this, the imagery is not my type of imagery, but I get it. At least there's only so many of those ones in there. They almost felt like they were drawn by a different artist or painted by a different artist. And for all I know, they could have been. I don't know. But they're beautiful, I think. I think that the imagery in this is just a stunning deck. I always thought the Thoth. I didn't get it when I first started reading because I was definitely geared towards Waite-Smith and training through Waite-Smith. But as time has evolved, I've become much more attuned to all the different traditions, and I pull the knowledge that I've gained or gleaned into everything that I do, in all the readings that I do now. I try to pull from all sources, if necessary. If necessary, I'll say, because sometimes this was from the U.S. game system deck, so it was trimmed down from a standard Thoth deck. I don't think it had a white box or anything like that. I think it was just standard, and I got the book to go with it. And I still keep things in silk. This is raw silk. I'm a silk subscriber. The book I read when I learned how to read tarot when I was learning was the Conley book, and I think she used the Robert and Hanson's deck too, which is probably why this gal used it. That was teaching me. And the Conley book, I didn't realize it at the time. Of course, I hadn't quite started down the pagan path at that point. I was heading there. It was there. It was just taking many steps at the time. So I didn't realize how Christianized her books were. So I didn't. I'm losing my train of thought. I'm burning out now. Didn't realize how Christianized her books were. So now when I go back and try to read them, in fact, I think I gifted them away finally, her training books. They feel almost offensive to me now. I hate to say it. And I think I get way more from Benabel Wen and Kelly Fitzgerald, and though I have a lot of Marcus Katz, and talking to him, listening to him teach has given me a lot of information. I've learned a lot from him, and just the verbal communication there, the verbal training I've learned so much. I have a lot of the other authors, Barbara Walker and I can't remember names now. I'm really burning out. Anyways, I've got a lot of different books, and to sit down and read the books is a little bit more of a challenge to me. So I'm not quite. Stereo instructions are not my thing. I'd rather read fiction. Anyways, Ethany's very good to listen to too. I like her, and I like her books. Stop. And so I've gained so much over the years just from the YouTube community itself. So thank you very much, all you people out there. You've really helped. The last deck that I have, I actually brought this in recently because Marcus Katz was dealing with it, and it looked really interesting to add on to readings. And it is the Psy cards, and I've never seen this before. This is very unique. I don't think it's can be put into standards of, I guess it might be considered fortune-telling type cards. It's got different categories, and their basic imagery. Some of it's but it doesn't follow like Kipper or Lenormand at all. It definitely goes down a different path, and I like, you'll have to pull up Marcus Katz's video because he really has some very specific things that he listens to when these cards get pulled, particularly when he said, what was it? It's stop or no. Listen to the no. I think that was one of it. Absolutely no. Liar. Never. Never. That was one. Never. 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 So it's like the nevermore. It's got the raven in there. So that's kind of cool. It's got a fool. It's got a sun. But it's not tarot, and it's not Lenormand. It's not Kipper. So it's got its own. It's almost like a guide. Suggestion cards. I don't know how to describe it, but it's interesting. It's very interesting to lay out amongst your other cards to see what kind of feedback you get, or directional. Maybe it's considered directional. That might be a good way to look at it. So very interesting. But those are the decks that I pulled back from the sale, and they're kind of oldies but goldies. I don't want to say moldies, but oldies but goldies, and I'd rather not see them go to a place they aren't wanted, or be destroyed. So I pulled them back. Anyways, that's my oldies but goldies shot back. I guess that's what I'll label this. Oldies but goldies shot back from my sale. So good decks to keep around, to tap into now and then, and kind of give me a reminder of my past and the path that I've moved along over the last 30 years or more, 35 years, 1988, 35, 30, I can't do math. 35 would be 30. Might be more like 33 years, I guess. Am I counting that right? 30 years? Yeah. 33 years, something like that. Anyways, here we are. Thank you for listening. I hope this isn't too much of a mishmash of clips, because I've had so many interruptions, and we get this, you enjoy this video, and kind of see what I'm going through right now. Like I said, I'm reorganizing. I'm working on getting my shop home, bringing the nail salon home. So I'm working on the corner in my kitchen, trying to clean that out and putting up shelves under counters so that I can make space, because I have to empty out cabinets and move cabinets downstairs, and bird cage out onto the deck, and yeah, dog cages had to be moved, stashed away underneath tables in the living room. I'll have to give you a tour of my different altar tables or working tables, but I'll do that on a different video. I'm going to go tomorrow and pick up a antique secretary's desk, because I need something a little bit more functional right behind me here, where I have my Lilith altar. It's just an old sewing table, and it really has no function other than that. Other than having my altar on there. But I want a desk so that I can set up my cards and tuck my cards in like Simon does, and everybody else has their little desk where they have their working decks. And I want to do that because I think I'm going to start doing more readings once I move home, for my business, and we'll see what happens. Anyways, but I'll give you a tour of that once I get that set up, and I'll give you an idea of where my working spaces are. Anyways, thank you again. Good to see you on the tube. Give me a thumbs up. Talk to you later. Bye.